get comfortable in our chairs or wherever we are and take a deep breath into the heart. Close our eyes, become present emotionally in this moment. Just checking in to see what's happening in consciousness right now. We ask the question, are we being gentle with ourselves? Is our heart open? Where's something preoccupying us? And if there is, we just bring our awareness to that and hold it gently. We want to get our arms around our entire experience, whatever it is in this moment. Bringing acceptance. Surrendering. And beginning to sense that connection to spirit, which we all have. And we feel as a palpable presence in the heart when the heart is open. Any anxiety we feel, we just become aware of it. Any resistance, just become aware of it. Accept it as part of your experience right now. Get your arms around it. In the silence, we begin to feel that connection to love, which is our essence. Begin to feel safe. Begin to surround ourselves with the realization that everything is okay the way it is. We are okay. Everyone else is okay. And we begin to feel that connection to love energetically as energy circulating throughout the body. Moving up into the face and the eyes and the crown, down the arms. Down through the stomach, pelvis, and the legs, and out through the bottoms of the feet. You feel this circulation of energy. and we breathe, and we allow it to do its work, opening us up. Okay. So today we're going to focus on probably one of the most important pieces of the work, which is the keys to the kingdom. It's not a whole lot of words or concepts, but it's very deep. Each one of these concepts and the practice associated with it is transformative and can really help us navigate our lives in a way that is beneficial to ourselves and others. So we start the keys with the very most important concept, which is the idea that each one of us is the bringer of love to our own experience. We accept that that is our responsibility and that is our practice. That while it is tempting to look for love from the outside, from other people around us, it's never truly satisfying, because other people can only love us to the extent that they love themselves. And many folks don't really love themselves. So when we have the expectation that they're going to love us, we are frequently disappointed. So the idea that love comes from the outside means that it's conditional love. It's setting ourselves up for a lot of disappointment. When we accept the primary responsibility for being the bringer of love to our experience, we change everything. We shift everything. Now it's all up to me. It's all up to you. The question is always, is my heart open? Not is somebody else's heart open. Am I loving myself right now? Not is somebody else loving me. And we learn that even when other people are preoccupied, or angry, or upset at us, or not able to respond to us the way we might like, then in those moments, we can reach down inside and we can feel that connection to love. And we can treat ourselves gently and with compassion. We can hold our experience compassionately. And as we do that, we're able to let go of the expectations we have of other people in the world around us. We get to this place where we just understand that we are enough. We don't need to fill the hole in our hearts. We just need to be present. Now that's a scary possibility for many people, because there's this fear that, well, if I really just look within, I'm not going to see what I like. Or maybe even worse, there won't be anything there. It'll just be empty, bleak, barren. And maybe at first when we do the practice, it seems that way. It seems like, well, there's nothing there. So we have to have a bit of courage to even begin to do the work, because we have to get through those moments when we wonder, is there anything there? Is there a connection to love and to the divine? Because oftentimes that connection is blocked by our own consciousness, by our own thoughts and feelings and reactive behaviors. So that when the heart is not open, we don't feel the love. The love might be there, but we don't feel it. So we have to open. We have to open to feel the love. That's the first step. Just being willing to sit in the silence, seeing if we can't sink down through the judgmental layers of mind to something deeper, where we are not judging ourselves and we are not judging anyone else. We are just being present to our own experience and breathing and connecting to whatever is there in the silence. And as we do this regularly, we begin to get a sense, an energetic sense of connection to love. You can feel it in the heart. Oftentimes we can feel the energy moving through our body. And we feel relaxed, we feel at peace, we feel accepted for who we are. We feel like we don't have to jump through any hoops or do anything, that we're worthy. Just in this moment, by virtue of the fact that we're here breathing, we're worthy. We're worthy of love. And most importantly, we're worthy of our own love and our own acceptance. Now, it's not surprising if we judge ourselves harshly, if we've had a lot of experiences in life where we've betrayed ourselves or others, they betrayed us. It's not surprising that it's difficult for us to connect to love, because we have to let go of those wounds. We have to look at those wounds in order to open up. And that's why in this work, we use a metaphor of the wounded child to try to tune into our innocence. Even though we're all wounded, there's a little kid in all of us that just wants to be loved. When we can see ourselves as that little child that just wants to be loved, it's easier to be the bringer of love to our experience. But when we're still heavily laden with shame and we don't feel good enough, we are the child who is fearful and doesn't feel good enough. And there's nobody who can bring love. We are that child. So the little bit of shift that has to take place as we begin to do the work is to tune in to the little kid inside who wants to be loved. Sometimes we look at that kid and we think, yuck, you know, he or she is angry or scared or vengeful or whatever, and we don't like that little kid. Just like the adults didn't like that child, we've internalized their judgments. It's hard for us to like that little child. But the transformation happens when we can sit with the child and say, even though you're hurting, even though you're angry, I can still embrace you. I can still acknowledge that you deserve love. And my job is to bring love to you. And this is my pledge, that when I sit down and come into the silence and tune in to you and what you need, that I will be present and I will bring love. I will not reject you over and over again. So then we begin to build a relationship with that child, to develop trust, so the child does not feel alone. And we break the identification with the child that says, I am that child. Because as long as we are identified with the child and think we are that child, there's no one to bring love. So we have to break the identification and recognize, okay, that child is in me, but I am the one who has this responsibility of showing up for him or her. And that starts a journey of healing. So what are we talking about in key number 1? We're talking about loving ourselves. This is the most difficult thing to do in all of our spiritual work, is to learn to love ourselves. Some people hear this and they think, oh, of course I love myself. But when they really begin to look at the contents of their own consciousness and all their reactivity and all their shame and all their fear, they realize, no, I never really learned to love myself. In fact, I'm really, really hard on myself. Where I'm really, really hard on other people, which is the flip side of the same coin. So we have to transform this child within, this wounded child within, who we have an antagonistic relationship with. We see this child as the enemy. We need to create a relationship and become that child's friend, that child's steady friend and companion. And we need to build trust little by little, so the child feels we are there. We are not going away. We are not going to abandon. Other people may have abandoned him. We may have abandoned him or her in the past, but no more. So this step gives us a very simple practice, this key. We begin to ask this question: am I loving myself right now? And we agree that we will answer it honestly. We won't bullshit ourselves. So if the answer is, no, I'm not really loving myself right now, we won't use that to beat ourselves up. We will bring that into awareness and say, okay, I'm not loving myself right now. Let me begin to love, to accept right now in this moment. Can I accept what's going on right now in this moment? Can I accept that I've made a mistake or someone else has made a mistake? And if I can, then I begin the actual process of bringing love. Sometimes it's easier to use the word acceptance than love because we don't know what love means. Am I accepting myself? So, all right, let's say I make a bad mistake. Accepting that I've made the mistake without beating myself up for it. Being willing to learn from that mistake, that's bringing acceptance. Acceptance brings peace. That's the first major step into loving yourself, is to accept who you are. To accept your human fragility, to stop being the perfectionist, the one who is brutally hard on yourself or others, wanting everything to be perfect. Nothing is ever good enough because there's no love there. So if I can make a mistake and still love myself, wow. If I can see your mistake and still love you, wow. That's huge. It may not sound like much, but it's huge. It's the beginning of transformation. It's the beginning of moving out of shame. So this is the work in key number 1. And this is not something that we undertake, okay, like in the morning I'll get up, I'll ask myself, am I loving myself right now? And then I'll just forget about it. This is a question we're asked to stay with throughout the day. Because we will all be drawn into the drama. We will all lose consciousness. We won't remember to love ourselves. We won't even ask the question. And then maybe we catch ourselves, we see, oh, I'm getting really upset here. And then we remember, oh, that's right. My job is to ask the question, am I loving myself? And if I'm not, to use that as a reminder that the only reason I am here is to learn to love myself. That's why this key is the most important key. You can throw all the other ones out. I don't suggest that you do, but you could, because this is the most important one. So we engage in a process of spiritual practice, learning how to show up for ourselves, to stop blaming and shaming ourselves, and to bring love when we feel disconnected. Instead of looking to others to bring love, we say, oh, that's my responsibility, not theirs. Of course, I like it when they're able to love me. Of course. Makes it much easier to love myself when other people love me, but ultimately it doesn't work because it's conditional. So it always comes down to, can I love myself when others don't love me? Can I accept myself when others don't accept me? This takes practice. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. So we commit to the practice every day. And throughout the day, whenever we lose our peace, whenever we go into judgment, whenever we're feeling anger or attack or whatever, we ask the question, am I loving myself? Not because we think we are, but to remind ourselves that we're not. But that we can start right now. Because I didn't love myself in the last minute does not mean I won't love myself in this moment. In any moment, I can shift. I can become the bringer of love to my experience. This idea is transformative. Can you all see that? How powerful this is? And as we go deeper into the practice, we become more sensitive to others who are also struggling to love themselves. And instead of blaming and shaming them, we see, okay, I know that. I've been brutal to myself. I know how hard it is to get my arms around my own experience. I'm not going to judge them. I'm going to do whatever I can to make their path easier. because we're all here to learn to do the same thing, to love and accept ourselves unconditionally. You know, we talk about unconditional love. It's a very beautiful concept. But until we begin to practice it, it doesn't mean very much. And part of the difficulty in this work is that because we don't love ourselves, we look at the shadowy parts of our nature and they scare the hell out of us. But what we learn to do, both in this work of the keys and the Healing Your Life work, is we learn to look at those shadowy aspects of ourselves compassionately. We don't use the awareness to beat ourselves up, because the whole spiritual path backfires if we use our awareness to beat ourselves up or to beat anybody else up. We develop the capacity to see our mistakes, our errors, our human fragility with compassion and to bring love. So here we are, we're sitting with all this shame. We think we're worthless. We've made a mistake. We're judging ourselves. We ask the question, am I loving myself right now? The answer is no. And we say, oh, wow, look how I'm beating the crap out of myself right now in this moment. Let me just stop. Let me just stop doing it. Take a deep breath. What about that little kid inside? That little kid is going crazy. Can I sit with that kid and just say, you are worthy of love? You deserve my love in this moment. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be conscious and to be able to sit with you and to pay attention to your needs, but I am here now. I'm present with you. And even though you made a mistake, you still deserve love. Of course, if we were parented this way, it would be a lot easier for us. But none of us were. And it's not our parents' fault. So that's why we call this whole process a reparenting process. We are becoming the good mommy and the good daddy to ourselves. We are bringing encouragement and support and acceptance. We are saying, even if you make a mistake, you're still lovable. We're saying no matter what you do, you don't ever cross the line and not be worthy of love, because you, like every single human being, is worthy of love. And really, that's all you want, little child. That's all you want. You just want to be loved. And sometimes you do all kinds of things to try to get love. It doesn't work. Then you think you're a failure. You're not a failure. You deserve to be loved. And I'm going to keep telling you, you deserve to be loved every day. If I have to tell you 20 times a day, I'll tell you 20 times a day, whatever it takes. This is the practice. Questions about the practice. What are the concepts behind it?